Somebody controls your bank account, and it is not you. Before you close this video, look at the evidence with me, because the evidence is sitting in your own transaction history. Have you noticed that your account balance always returns to the same level? Not the same number to the dollar, but the same zone, the same altitude, the same familiar territory of almost enough. You get a raise, and within months the balance is back in the zone. You get a windfall, a tax refund, an unexpected check, and the money evaporates through repairs and emergencies and small decisions you barely remember making, and the balance returns to the zone. You cut expenses, you discipline yourself, you download the app, and 6 months later the zone. That is not what randomness looks like. Random numbers drift. Your balance does not drift. It is managed. It behaves exactly like a number that somebody is holding in place, correcting it when it rises too high, rescuing it when it falls too low, always steering it back to a level that somebody somewhere decided was yours. Today we are going to find out who. We are going to run this like an investigation, suspect by suspect, until we are standing in front of the one who actually signs, and I will warn you now, the way I warn you in every video. You will not like the face at the end of this investigation. But if you can survive the revelation, you will walk out of this video holding something almost nobody on this planet holds: the pen. Let us start with the suspect everyone accuses first. Your boss, the one who decides your salary and therefore, the story goes, decides your life. It feels airtight. He signs the paycheck. But watch what happens when we actually interrogate this suspect. Ask yourself how your current salary was set. There was a number on the table and you accepted it. Maybe you negotiated, and notice, if you did, exactly how far you pushed before something in you said, "Do not push further, do not risk it, this is fine." Where did that limit come from? Your boss was not inside you when you felt it. And go further back. When you applied for that job, there were other jobs, positions you scrolled past, listings you did not open, because something in you said, "That is not for people like me." Before you were even conscious a verdict had been rendered. Your boss never saw those moments. He inherited you pre-priced. Here is the truth about employers that nobody says out loud. A boss does not set your value. He confirms the value you walked in carrying. He is a cashier, not an owner. He rings up a price that was written on you before you ever shook his hand. Fire this suspect. He signs the check, but he does not sign the amount. The amount was signed earlier, somewhere else, by someone we have not met yet. Second suspect, the economy. Inflation, recession, the market, the times we live in. This suspect is popular because it is enormous and faceless and cannot be cross-examined. But it has one fatal problem as a suspect. Its effects are not consistent. In every recession in recorded history, while millions sank, specific individuals rose, and not just the already rich. New fortunes are disproportionately born in downturns. The same storm that drowns one man fills another man's sails. 1929 ruined some men and minted others standing on the same street, reading the same newspaper, breathing the same air. If the economy controlled bank accounts, its control would be uniform. Everyone down in the crash, everyone up in the boom. Instead, the variance between people in identical conditions is total, which tells an investigator something precise. The economy is weather, not verdict. Weather matters, it shapes the day, but two farmers under the same rain harvest completely different fields, and the difference is not in the sky. It is in what was planted. Fire this suspect too. The economy decides the conditions of delivery. It has never once decided the address. Third suspect, and here the room always gets tense. The system. The game is rigged, the ladder is broken, they keep us down. And I am not going to insult you by pretending the 3D world is fair. It is not fair. Some start on third base and some start in the parking lot, and pretending otherwise is a lie that serves the comfortable. But an honest investigator has to follow the variance again. Take two people born in the same neighborhood, same schools, same skin, same accent, same starting damage. The system pressed on both with the same weight. Their outcomes diverge anyway, and sometimes they diverge absurdly. If the external system were the true signer of bank accounts, siblings raised in one house would retire with matching balances. They do not. The system is real, and it is a current, and currents drown people. I will not romanticize that. But a current cannot explain why two swimmers in the same water go in opposite directions. Something inside each swimmer is deciding the direction, and the current only decides the difficulty. File the system as an accomplice, real pressuring, never innocent, but it is not the signer. The signature exists underneath the system's fingerprints, older than them, and we keep digging. Fourth suspect quickly, because this one is barely trying to hide its innocence. The bank itself, the credit score, the interest rates, the fees, reflections, all of them. A credit score is a mirror of past behavior, and behavior, as we are about to see, is downstream of something else. A bank never decided how much you would deposit. It counts what arrives. It is the scoreboard, and nobody blames a scoreboard for the score, released without charges. So look at what our investigation has left standing. Every external suspect had the same alibi. None of them were present at the actual moment of signing. And notice what every one of them had in common instead. The boss confirmed a price you carried in. The economy delivered along an address already written. The system pressed on a direction already chosen. The bank counted what a deeper decision allowed to arrive. Every road in this investigation runs through the same unexamined territory. Something inside you that carries a price, writes an address, holds a number. An investigator at this point does the thing investigators always do when every external lead dies. He turns around and looks at the one witness who was present at every single transaction of your entire life. You. Not the you that is watching this video, worried and tired and hopeful. Something in you underneath that. And here is where the investigation crosses out of finance and into the territory Neville Goddard owned, because Neville named the signer a century ago, plainly, publicly, in packed halls, and the world found the answer so offensive in its simplicity that it kept looking for more flattering suspects. He said, "The individual's whole life is nothing more than his concept of himself made visible, not influenced by, made of. There is a file in you, written early, rehearsed daily, that contains a sentence about who you are in relation to money, not what you want, not what you deserve, what you are. I am someone who struggles. I am someone who almost makes it. I am someone who cannot hold money. I am someone for whom it never quite works out." That sentence is the owner. That sentence has power of attorney over your entire financial life, and it has been exercising it, quietly, at every register, in every negotiation, through every decision, too fast to notice, since before you could spell the word money. Your account has never had a single unauthorized transaction. Every deposit and every leak was signed in full by the concept of self you were holding at the time. You have been looking for the controller of your money out there for 30 years. The controller has been reading your search history from inside. Now let me show you the owner at work, because once you see the execution methods, you will spot them in your own week, and spotting them is the beginning of the transfer. The owner never touches money directly. It works through 4 instruments, all of them disguised as you. Instrument 1, perception. Before you decide anything, the owner decides what you see. Opportunities that contradict your concept are filtered out of awareness before they reach the desk of your conscious mind. The business idea you almost registered, the person you almost approached, the listing you scrolled past, you call it not noticing. It is curation. Instrument 2, the voice in negotiations. Every time money is being decided, at the interview, at the sale, at the moment of naming your price, the owner leans in and sets your ceiling in real time. It is the flutter in your chest that made you say a smaller number. It is the sentence, "I do not want to seem greedy," arriving with suspicious speed. You thought that was politeness, it was policy. Instrument 3, the automatic decisions. Studies of behavior keep confirming what Neville asserted flatly, that an enormous share of daily action runs on script, below awareness. The owner lives in that majority. The impulse purchase after a hard week, the subscription never cancelled, the generous gesture you could not afford but could not refuse, each one signed before you were consulted. And Instrument 4, the most elegant, sabotage dressed as prudence. The follow-up call not made because it felt pushy, the invoice sent late because you did not want to bother them, the price kept low out of loyalty to clients who would have paid double. Every instrument wears your face. That is why the owner has never been caught. Every witness in your life would testify it was you. And here is the detail that proves ownership beyond appeal, the detail I mentioned at the start. The zone is defended in both directions. Everyone understands the ceiling, the raise that evaporates, the windfall that leaks away. The The famous studies of lottery winners say most are back where they started within a few years, and everyone laughs at them from a distance, not noticing they do the same thing with every bonus. But watch the floor, because the floor is where the owner shows its hand. Think of the times you hit bottom, the month it truly was not going to work. And then somehow it worked. The odd job appeared. The relative called. The thing sold. You always just barely make it, do you not? You have decades of just barely making it, an unbroken streak of last-minute rescues, and you call it luck or grace. Look at it as an investigator instead. A number that never rises above one line and never falls below another is not a wild number. It is a number under management. The same owner that leaks your surplus dispatches your rescues because both the surplus and the collapse would contradict the concept, and the concept must be made visible, Neville said, always, in both directions. You are not surviving by miracle. You are being maintained the way a property manager maintains a building, kept at exactly the level written on the work order, no better and no worse. The good news hiding in this dark fact is enormous. A system that precise, that loyal, that relentless is not your enemy. It is unclaimed machinery. The day the concept changes, all four instruments and both defenses go to work for the new number with the same ruthlessness. The rescues become surpluses. The management continues. Only the setting changes. One more question, and the first half of this investigation is complete. Where did the owner come from? Nobody chooses their concept of self at an age when choosing is possible. Yours was dictated. Between birth and roughly age 7, your nervous system recorded the money climate of your home without evaluation, because evaluation requires a critical mind you did not yet have. The sentence money does not grow on trees, said by a tired father. The look exchanged between parents when the envelope arrived. The rich people talked about at the table in that tone, half resentment, half awe. We are not that kind of people, said once. Absorbed forever. You inherited your concept of money the way you inherited your accent. Nobody sat you down and taught you an accent. You breathed it and now you speak it without knowing you speak it. And money answers you in the dialect it was taught to expect. This is why I have no patience for shame in this work, and why Neville had none either. You did not choose the owner. You were assigned one, by people who were assigned theirs, by people who were assigned theirs, a chain of signatures going back generations, every link written by someone who did not know they were writing. You are not guilty. But, and this is the sentence that divides everyone watching into two groups, you are now the first person in that entire chain who knows, which means the chain ends with you, or you end with the chain. Sit with the discomfort of that for a second, because I am not going to soften it, and then check the pinned comment under this video after we finish, because what I left there works directly on what comes next. Because an investigation that ends with the culprit is only half done. What comes now is the arrest, the removal, and the replacement. The second half of this video is the transfer of ownership. But first, one uncomfortable question deserves an answer, because some of you are asking it right now. If the real owner has been internal all along, why did nobody tell you? Why did school teach you the exports of countries you will never visit, and not 1 hour about the concept of self that would sign every paycheck you ever received? Follow the incentives, and the answer stops being mysterious. Every false suspect in our investigation has an industry attached to it. The suspect called boss sells you career advice, resume courses, the grind. The suspect called economy sells you news, fear, and someone to vote for. The suspect called system sells you resentment, which is free to produce and endlessly renewable. The suspect called bank sells you credit repair and consolidation loans. Every one of those industries needs the controller of your money to be external, because external controllers need middlemen and middlemen need fees. There is no industry for telling you the signer is your own concept of self, because the moment you believe that, you stop needing middlemen entirely. Neville stood on stages for more than 3 decades saying the whole vast world is yourself pushed out and charged almost nothing, and died without an empire, because the truth he taught creates graduates instead of customers. Nobody buried this knowledge in a vault. They just built louder industries on top of it, and you have been paying tuition to every one of them. Now the transfer, 5 steps, and I want you to notice they are legal steps, contractual steps, because we are not doing feelings here. We are changing whose name is on a document. Step 1, the audit. You cannot replace a signature you have never read. So tonight, You take a page, a real page paper, and you complete one sentence as many times as it fires, honestly, in the exact words your head uses. I am someone who, and then whatever comes, about money. Do not write what you wish. Write what fires. I am someone who always struggles. I am someone who is bad with money. I am someone who watches others get lucky. I am someone who cannot charge properly. Keep the pen moving until the well is empty, and do not flinch at what comes up. Because you are not writing affirmations, you are photocopying the current contract. Most people have never once seen their own contract in writing, and seeing it does half the demolition on its own. Because sentences that ran your life invisibly for 30 years look shockingly stupid in ink. That page is the old owner's signature card. Read it once coldly like an auditor, and understand that every line on it has been signing your account. Step 2. The revocation. This is the step everyone skips, and skipping it is why new affirmations fail on top of old concepts. Before installing anything, you formally end the old authority. Neville spoke of dying to the old man, and he meant it as an event, not a mood. So tonight, after the audit, you hold that page and you say, out loud, alone in a voice you would use for legal business, these statements were never mine. They were dictated to a child who could not refuse them. I revoke them. And then you destroy the page. Burn it safely, shred it, tear it small. The method is irrelevant. The event is everything. Because your nervous system, which thinks in image and act rather than in argument, needs a scene to file under the heading, "The old authority ended." This is not theatre for its own sake. This is you speaking the only language the deep file understands, the language of enacted fact. From tonight, there is a date in your history. The day the dictation stopped. Step 3, the new signature. Now and only now you write the new concept, and the writing follows Neville's grammar or it fails. Present tense. Identity, not acquisition. Nothing about wanting, getting, attracting, receiving someday. One clean sentence you can stand inside. I am the one money obeys. I am someone money stays with and multiplies through. I am the wealthy one of my line. Choose the sentence that makes something in your chest go quiet rather than excited. Quiet is the tone of ownership. And then sign it into the file the only way signatures reach the file, through a felt scene in the state, akin to sleep. Tonight, drowsy, in the dark, you construct 30 seconds of implication. Not winning money, we have covered this. Arrival scenes scream that it is new. Build a scene that presumes it. You are reviewing accounts with the calm of a person for whom surplus is a boring old fact. A friend says to you, laughing, "Money just likes you," and you shrug, because it is simply true and has been for as long as anyone remembers. You pick up the check for the table without your heart rate changing, loop the scene, feel it as home, and let sleep close the notary's office with the new signature inside. Then repeat the appointment nightly, because a signature becomes an authority through repetition, the same way the old one did. You were not signed into scarcity once, you were signed into it 10,000 mornings in a row. The new owner does not need 10,000. Conscious repetition, Neville insisted, outweighs accidental repetition by orders of magnitude, because it arrives undiluted, but it needs its season. Give it the season. And let me sharpen step 3 with a distinction that separates the people this works for from the people who try it for a week, and drift off, because it is subtle and it is decisive. Notice that I did not tell you to imagine money. I told you to imagine being the one money obeys. Those are different operations on different layers of the machine. A money scene, the pile, the number, the purchase, aims at the symptom. An identity scene aims at the signer. And the deep file, remember, is social. It was written by faces, voices, kitchen tables, other people's tones, which means it is rewritten fastest by the same material. This is why the most effective scenes in all of Neville's work, if you read his lectures carefully, are witnessed scenes. He almost never had students imagine objects alone. He had them imagine being seen, being congratulated, being told. The friend who says money just likes you. The old colleague who looks at you and says you have changed. Things really turned around for you, did they not? The relative who once pitied you asking quietly how you did it. Your concept of self was installed through other people's eyes. It is reinstalled the same way. So when you build your 30 seconds tonight, put a witness in it. Let someone in the scene treat the new you as old news, and let your body feel what it is like to be regarded casually without ceremony as the one for whom it all worked out. That regard, felt as normal, is the deepest signature there is. The money scene says, "I got something." The witnessed identity scene says, "I am someone." The file only ever prints the second sentence. Step 4. Catch the old pen moving. The old owner does not vanish at revocation. It persists as reflex, and its reflex is verbal. So your daytime work, starting tomorrow, is signature interception. Every time you hear yourself begin the old dialect, "I cannot afford," "must be nice," "people like me never," that is the dead owner's hand still trying to sign checks, and you interrupt the signature mid-stroke. Out loud when you can, inwardly when you must. Cancel that. And then the correction, calmly. Money obeys me now. Understand what you are doing mechanically. You are not policing negativity like some anxious monitor of thoughts. You are refusing forged documents. There is a new authority on this account, and forgeries get returned. Some days you will catch 20 forgeries, within weeks you will catch 2. The dialect dies from disuse, exactly the way any unspoken language dies, and one day, and you will not notice the day, the old sentence will simply fail to arrive, and silence will stand where the complaint lived, and that silence is the sound of completed transfer. Step 5. Expect the test from reality and pass it. Every transfer of authority on this earth gets tested, and this one is no exception. Within days or weeks of the revocation, the 3D will present you with a bill shaped exactly like your old concept, an expense from nowhere, a payment delayed, a cold streak. It will arrive with impeccable timing, and it is not punishment, and it is not proof of failure. It is the standard verification question asked by a mechanical universe. Who owns this account now? And you answer it not with panic and not with forced positivity, but the way the new owner answers any routine inquiry, calmly, in identity. This is handled, because I am the one who handles such things. Hold the state through the test, and something almost administrative happens in the file, a final stamp. The people who lose everything at this stage lose it because they read the test as a verdict. You now know it is a formality. It is the last document in the transfer, and you have been told in advance what to write on it. And then watch what happens to our old suspects, one by one, because this is where the investigation ends in the strangest, most satisfying way. The boss, who was a cashier confirming your old price, begins, without a single conversation about it, to treat you differently, because you walk in priced differently, and cashiers ring up what is on the tag. Or he becomes irrelevant, because the new concept routes income through doors an employee never checks. The economy keeps doing whatever economies do, storms and sunshine, and you notice with mild disbelief that your results have detached from the forecast, that money finds you in downturns, that you have become one of those people you used to read about, who seem to farm well in any weather because the planting changed. The system is still unfair, still real, and still unable to explain you, because the current never could steer a swimmer whose direction was set from inside, and the bank goes back to being furniture, a scoreboard mounted on the wall, counting, just counting. Nothing out there was defeated. Nothing out there needed to be. The staff kept their jobs. The account simply changed owners, and every one of them, boss, economy, system, bank, now works, with the same indifference they always had, for the new signature. Neville put the whole mechanism in one line, and it is the line I want written somewhere in your home. Assume a new concept of yourself, and the world, which is yourself pushed out, will wear it as fact. 3 objections will try to stop you between this video and tonight's appointment, so let us retire them now. The first one says, "I cannot write that new sentence because I do not believe it. It feels like a lie, and I refuse to lie to myself." Good instinct, wrong law. Nobody is asking for belief. Belief is not the entrance requirement. Belief is the byproduct. Neville's formula was never believe until it is true. It was assume, persist, and let the assumption harden into fact, and the hardening includes your own belief, which arrives late, like an official who only signs documents that already exist. You do not believe your own name because you argued yourself into it. You believe it because you have answered to it 10,000 times. Answer to the new sentence nightly and let belief catch up on its own schedule. The second objection says, "How long until the zone moves?" And I understand the ache inside the question, but watch what the question does. It puts you at the window with the binoculars again, and a watched transfer, like a watched pot, keeps your state in the waiting room, and waiting is the old address. Here is what I will give you instead of a date. The transfer announces itself through the instruments before it ever touches the balance. Remember the 4 instruments: perception, the negotiating voice, the automatic decisions, the prudence that was sabotage. Those flip first, weeks before the money. You will catch yourself seeing an opportunity you know you would have filtered out last year. You will hear your own voice in some small negotiation, hold a number without flinching, and you will hang up mildly shocked at yourself. You will decline a purchase without effort, or make one without guilt. Log those. Each one is the new owner's handwriting appearing in the ledger, and the balance is always the last page of the ledger to update, never the first. And the third objection comes later, in week 2 or 3 after a bad day, when you catch yourself having spoken the old dialect all afternoon without intercepting a single forgery, and the voice says, "You broke it. You have to start over. You broke nothing." A transfer of ownership is not a soap bubble that pops at the first touch. It is a legal fact under repetition, and a relapse is not a reversal. It is residue. The measure of this work was never perfection of thought. Neville was asked constantly about doubt and bad days, and his answer never changed: return. The man who returns to the state 100 times owns it more deeply than the man who held it once in ecstasy and never came back. The old owner ran your account on 10,000 careless repetitions. You will run it on a few hundred deliberate ones. Miss a day, return. Speak the dialect, cancel and return. There is no starting over in this work, because the file keeps everything you have deposited. There is only continuing. And a word about tomorrow morning, the first morning under new ownership, because the first morning is a hinge. You will wake up, and for a few seconds before the world loads, you will be nobody in particular, and then the system will reach for a self to put on, the way a man reaches for his clothes, and by lifetime habit it will reach for the old one. The worry will be laid out on the chair where it always is, pressed and ready. Do not put it on. In those first 2 or 3 minutes, before the phone, before the news, before your feet find the floor, you say the new sentence once, in the flat voice of ownership, and you let one flash of the witnessed scene warm your chest, your friend's voice. Money just likes you, and only then do you stand up. 2 minutes. That is the whole ceremony. But understand what those 2 minutes are. They are the new owner arriving at the office before the old staff can open the mail. Whoever dresses first runs the day, and for decades the old concept dressed first every single morning, unopposed, and then had the audacity to call the resulting life evidence. From tomorrow you dress first, and do all of this quietly, by the way. No announcements at breakfast, no posting your new identity for relatives to vote on. A transfer under construction does not hold press conferences. Let the first person to find out be the world itself, rearranged. So do not leave this video with information. Leave it with a date. Tonight, the audit, the revocation, the new signature in the drowsy dark. Tomorrow the interceptions begin. This week probably the test. And now you know what it is when it knocks. And somewhere in the weeks after that, quietly without fireworks, the zone starts to move, and it will be the strangest sensation of your life, watching a number that held you for decades begin to climb, as if some manager somewhere had simply approved a new level. Because one did. When you finish the revocation tonight, come back to this video and write one word in the comments: owner, nothing else. That word, on record under this investigation, in front of thousands of people doing the same transfer this same night, will do more for your nervous system than 100 private intentions, because a signature, as you now understand better than almost anyone alive, is exactly as powerful as the identity behind it. Then check the pinned comment, because what I left there is for the ones who intend to keep the account they just claimed. Your balance was never stuck. It was held. The one who held it was hired by a child, worked in the dark for 30 years, and was fired by you tonight. The pen is in your hand now. It always was. The difference is that now you know what your signature does. I will see you in the next video.